In this video, we will demonstrate how to prepare the toad skin for the epithelial transport practical class. Firstly, place the pithed toad on its back on a dissecting tray. Next, pick the skin up down the inferior end of the abdomen and make a small incision using a pair of dissecting scissors. You should then blunt dissect the skin away from the underlying fascia using either the blades of the dissecting scissors or using your fingers. Getting started can sometimes be a little bit tricky, but once you've got going, the skin will generally come away reasonably easily. Once you have freed the skin from the connective tissue, cut out as large a square of the abdominal skin as you can. This is the skin that we will use to cut out the circles used in this class. Once you have the skin, place the remains of the toad into the green body disposal bag. This will be placed into the freezer later. To cut out the circles of toad skin that we need, first of all, place the skin onto the cutting board with the inside facing upwards. You should notice that the inner surface of the skin is white and that there are a fine network of capillaries running across its surface. Next, dab the skin gently with some tissue. The reason for this is that we need to use superglue to attach the skin to the tissue mounting rings. And so we need to remove the excess moisture to do this. Then, attach the edges of the skin to the cutting board using some large thumbtacks. This will prevent the skin from moving when we're cutting out the tissue rings. Next, to make a better electrical connection later, we need to remove the inner connective tissue layer of the skin. To do this, gently scrape the inner surface of the skin with the scalpel blade. You will notice that the fine capillaries come up as you do this. To attach the tissue rings, we use this Sally's Quick Fix superglue, which comes with an attached brush. This makes it easier to apply the glue without getting it everywhere. Gently paint the glue onto one side of the tissue mounting rings, and then press the rings glue side down onto the inner surface of the skin. The skin needs to be completely sealed all the way around the ring, otherwise the experiment won't work later, so it's important to do this carefully and make sure that it's done properly. When placing subsequent rings onto the skin, make sure none of the rings are touching, as you will need space all the way around in order to use the tissue cutter. To cut out the circles of skin, place the tissue cutter over the tissue mounting rings. Strike the cutter sharply several times using a rubber mallet, and then twist the cutter to ensure the cut is complete. Sometimes the skin gets caught in the cutter when you raise it, in which case just poke the skin out. You now have a circle of toad skin attached to the plastic mounting ring. Now, take the white half of the tissue slider and place the plastic mounting ring into the groove on the top surface. Then place the clear perspex half of the tissue slider on top and click it into place. Place the assembled tissue slider into either a beaker or petri dish of normal Ringer's solution to keep the tissue moist until used in class. It's extremely important when making these discs of tissue not to touch the skin inside the ring, as this can prevent the tissue from working during the experiment. Continue cutting out the tissue for the remaining rings. Again, place the plastic tissue mounting ring into the groove on the top surface of the white half of the tissue slider. With the ring in place, snap together the clear perspex half of the tissue slider to hold the unit together. Then place the assembled unit into the Ringer's solution. Note, it is important for this tissue to be as fresh as possible. Therefore, make sure these discs are produced within half an hour of the start of the class. The prepared tissue sliders are now ready to be distributed to the students in the class.